Hello everybody and welcome to Alternative Interactions. I'm Gary. This is kind of a viewer's request, but I'm going to do it in a sneaky way. So we're talking about an event that happened in 2001 fundamentally, that involved 3 buildings. But we're going to start in a slightly different way, as is my way, and we're going to go onto the jet hoax, as in the fuel that's not burnt by jets, and then we'll go on to other things. Now, I won't be making lots of comments on these other things for obvious reasons, because the algorithms will pick up what I'm saying and I could get in trouble with my channel, which is the last thing I want at this stage. Now it's building up nicely, and thank you very much everybody for your likes, shares and subscribes and all the wonderful and amazing comments. Really do appreciate it. Thank you very much. It's amazing, and your support spurs me on. So this is kind of a, going back to this is kind of a question that was asked in the chat, and so what we're going to do, we're going to have a little look at the a little slideshow I've put together, and some of this I won't be talking much about. I should just be showing you slides so that you can kind of make your own mind up, and hopefully I'm going to try and talk in a bit of code as such, so please bear with me on this one, because I do wish to there's certain topics that I would like to cover and I really can't on YouTube, and this is one of them that's you probably get away with now, but I don't want to risk it currently. So buckle up and fasten your seatbelts, and we'll go for a little flight. Okay. So we're talking about the jet fuel hoax. Now obviously they charge us an awful lot of money on our tickets for the price of the fuel, but as this clearly shows, they only run on about 10% jet fuel. So jet fuel is used to start the engines, to give the thrust to take off and climb, and to land with the reverse thrust. The rest of the time, from my research, no jet fuel is used. Now, I've shown this before, but we have ancient temples, thousands of years old, showing jet engines. So this kind of technology that we're looking at with jets is nothing new. So this secret, or the use of, has been widely known for a very, very long time and hidden from us as everything else is. So planes actually fly by compressed air. So when they get up to a certain height, the air pressure coming in, or the air flowing in at the speed that they go, around 500 odd miles an hour, 540, this air gets sucked in, and the way the engine is designed, it compresses the air into smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller amounts until that air is forced together almost like a piston, but obviously in a rotational way. Again, it's like a vector, and because the engine is so hot, because it's already been burning, the air combusts and produces thrust. No fuel is used in cruising at altitude. So again, we're talking about compressed air. Now this is the design of a modern aircraft. I'm sorry, the slide's quite poor quality, but this is where we're meant to have all the fuel stored. Okay, and the manuals say it's around 64,000 pounds of fuel that's needed to fly an aeroplane like this some distance. That's what it can hold. But this tanker holds 9,200 gallons. So they're saying this little bit here inside the bottom of the plane that holds the fuel is actually holding 3 tankers worth of fuel. That's very interesting. In these very thin wings, it says there's 218 metric tons of fuel in the wings. Now that doesn't mean anything to me, like it doesn't you. But if we go to the Airbus A380, each wing can hold 3,856 gallons. And as we've seen before, this is around a 10,000 gallon capacity. So what they're telling us is that this amount of tankers worth of fuel fits into here. Yeah. So in other words, weight wise means that there should be 20 elephants worth of weight on each wing for the amount of fuel that they should hold. And I cannot see anywhere where that wing would be able to hold that amount of fuel. Because they don't use that much fuel. So this is a water tank, and 747 carries around the amount of this water tank holds in its wings. I'm really not sure that's possible, let alone the weight of it to take off on the ground, from the ground. That's a lot of weight. Now this is from the Encyclopedia Britannica, or Britannica I should say, and this is a cross section and breakdown of a modern aircraft. The only problem is they've forgotten to put where they keep the fuel. I should imagine the fuel goes in this little area here, in this little area here, and perhaps some here. But I can't see where they would put 4 or 5 tankers worth of fuel on each wing. These engines burn air, atmosphere, go through the turbine into smaller and smaller proportions until it's compressed and it burns with the heat of the residual burn, and it comes out as thrust. Now this is a cross section of a damaged wing, or an aircraft that's been broken up, and I'm not really sure where the fuel tanks are. I can't really see any. I mean, obviously we're missing the engine here, but fundamentally I don't really see where the fuel tanks are. And again, same picture, this one's been damaged, and again I can't really see where the fuel tanks are. But also I'd like you to take note, this airplane's had a crash landing, and look at the damage to the wing. Look how destroyed it is. No fuel though. Now this is a very, very good diagram of a wing that's been done by somebody, and you can clearly see the lack of fuel tanks. I don't see how they can, with all these hydraulics inside the wing to make these go up and down, huge systems. Where's the fuel tank? Where's the fuel? Isn't it interesting? We have a winglet for fuel efficiency. The winglet's to give extra lift, in actual fact. Certainly not fuel efficiency, because they don't burn it. Now we go on to the request part of the show, and here we have a very interesting drawing, painting, and we have two Jenga piles of rubble with a couple of paper aeroplanes, and somebody looking very pleased with himself. Why would a painting like that be painted? So here we have damage to airplanes from airplane strikes and such like, from birds and such like. So this has gone through a hailstorm, and we can see the glass is smashed, the nose is very badly damaged, and this is a bird strike, and we can see that the front of the plane is absolutely obliterated. There's no strength or structure within that. But when the plane hits something else, we get this effect. I'm pretty sure a bird is not as hard and solid as something else. Now this photos lead on to a fourth location that had an issue, and this thing here, which has been loaded on by munitions experts, has been painted to look like an aeroplane. And this is a very famous building, and here we can see a scuff mark, but there's very little debris or evidence of the aeroplane that caused the scuff mark. And we have a very thin line going in, and so something's missing here, and then we have something here that's happened. So we have an event at this part of the building. The middle part of the building seems to be absolutely fine, and then the bit where they may have had records of some sort seems to have been affected very badly. very strange, isn't it? There's an awful lot of devastation in this part, none in this part, and some in this part. I'm sure you can explain it, because that is a regular pattern that we see regularly when we have issues. And this is what caused the scuff mark. Now, this is a slowed down image of a bird strike, and what we appear to be seeing is something that looks very much like CGI. Although we have a little light here, this light seems to penetrate it's very strange. It doesn't seem to collate, and then we have, I can't really see any engines here. Still struggling to see engines, still struggling, and still struggling to see the effect of what we just witnessed. And I will get back to this slide later, because it's very, very profound. Now we have a construction site, and we can clearly see that they have been doing works on this construction site, and that we have beams of the construction site that they've decided to cut at a 45-degree angle. It's very unusual, isn't it? So something that was at the top affected the bottom. And here we have more evidence. A closer up image of the bit I just showed. Look at that. That's melted. It's residue from a heat source that's melted that. How lucky would that have been just to have caused that particular angle? Just like that. And obviously I'm not being disrespectful to those that weren't around following this. I'm just highlighting certain points, like these 2 points. This is just after. Now this is another building that's called 7, and we have some very interesting marks on building 7. Now building 7 didn't get scuffed by anything. Remember that, building 7 didn't get scuffed by anything. But what we do have, when we start looking into this a little bit more, is certain actors who are involved in this, and I'm not going to say his name, but I can assure you he's very, very polarising within the United Kingdom. Those voting machines are very, very good, aren't they? Now this is the slide, and I remember watching this live but didn't realise what I was looking at the time. The 7 is over this lady's shoulder, and yet she is reporting that 7 fell down, and 7 was never scuffed, but 7 did fall down 26 minutes later, 26 minutes after this report came out via the BBC News World Service. Isn't that interesting that the BBC, British Broadcasting Corporation, funded by the government, who this person is involved with, were able to talk about and predict something before it happened. And then when we go back to the image, which appears to be CGI, of the scuffing via the bird, were we really shown the truth that day? There was a certain crowd of onlookers that cheered when it happened. A certain crowd of onlookers that were linked to certain organisations which, like the alphabet, and with that I will leave it there. There was collusion without doubt, and a beautiful story laid out to enable heinous crimes to then happen after the crimes of those people, the same people that they had already committed. The flag was very false that day. And with that, I think I need to leave that alone, don't you? But hopefully that will give you some food to think about, and do your own research. Please do. There's some very, very good videos out there, particularly about jet fuel, because if a jet engine or an aircraft uses or has so little of something, then how could so little create such a big mess? Maybe it was given a helping hand. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and I shall catch up with you guys again very soon, hopefully. Bye everyone.